Governor Kaine today on Meet the Farmer TV.
Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by Planet Earth Diversified, Melli Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design. Culpeper's Channel 21, helping to preserve the agricultural history of Virginia, and Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.
I'm Governor Tim Kaine, and you're watching Meet the Farmer TV.
Today we're at Albemarle County CiderWorks here in North Garden. We're going to have an exclusive interview with Governor Tim Kaine. We'll also talk to T. Robbins Buck, the Director for Agribusiness Development. We'll also get a tour with Chuck Shelton about this new cider facility here in Albemarle County. Well, we're here at the CiderWorks grand opening, and we happen to have an honored guest, His Excellency, the Governor of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, Governor Tim Kaine.
Michael, it's good to be with you, it really is.
Thank you. Now, you have worked so hard as governor to really sort of preserve the beauty of Virginia. And you mentioned in your speech flying over. I was very jealous of flying over, seeing all the stuff in Virginia.
It's a gorgeous state.
It really is beautiful.
Yeah.
And you've taken a real personal passion to preserving the beauty of Virginia and trying to save the family farm. And we're working with a whole lot of really small growers.
Right.
And one of the important things right now in these tough economic times is we call them the kitchen table entrepreneurs. These are the family farms. They're not going to have a layoff. They can't fire their kids and their family.
Who can they fire?
So they're going to survive, and they're going to find some way. And so what sorts of things have you been doing and asking your staff to do to help these family farms?
Well, the main goal we set at the start of the administration was we wanted to put under permanent protection 400,000 acres of open space in Virginia during my time as governor. That would have basically doubled the previous efforts to preserve land, and it would have enabled us to get ahead of the natural land loss we see as farms and other open space gets developed during in times of a growing population. So we've done it through a variety of ways. Some of it is through new state parks and state forests. Some of it is through conservation easements that enable people to protect forests or other open space, but we've made a special effort to try to preserve farming. So we set up an Office of Farmland Preservation within our Department of Agriculture. And that office works directly with farmers, but also works with local governments like Albemarle that have established what they call Purchase of Development Rights, PDR programs. There's about 20 jurisdictions in Virginia now that will put some cash into trying to help farmers give them an economic incentive to agree not to develop the land and keep it in family farming. Between the cash grants, some of which are state and some of which are local, and the tax credit program that we saved during my time as governor, it was in jeopardy and we preserved it. This has been a very valuable financial tool to enable families to keep their farm in working landscape, and foresters as well. So that's been the main thing that we've done, is tried to figure out what are the right financial incentives, and then we go out and market the incentives. So not everybody immediately thinks, oh, I want to put my farm under an easement and agree not to develop it at all in the future. You kind of have to make the case as to why it would be valuable, and especially why the tax credit incentive can be very powerful. But as it turns out, we probably have the best tax credit program in the United States, and that has enabled many farmers around Virginia in the last 4 years to preserve their land. We set this goal of 400,000 acres, and I'm 3.5 years into being governor, but we're right at about 350,000. So if we catch a few breaks in my next 6 months, we'll get very close to the goal, and a lot of the preservation has been of working farms.
Well, that's terrific. Now, there have been a lot of issues with food safety lately, and that's creating sort of a kind of a scare from the buyers, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the small growers, demanding liability insurance, extra inspections, and certainly, cider used to be something that happened in every local farm where they picked
everybody
apples.
Did it, sure.
And now there's certain regulations on pasteurization, and we have people that make an investment like this facility. So there's sort of a turning point where I mean, you have some tough decisions to make with budget cuts and closing, rest areas and all sorts of things.
Very tough.
And so to give tax incentives at a time when you really need more tax income can be difficult. But we are seeing a real expansion of farmers markets.
We are,
almost everywhere there are farmers markets.
There was 80 farmers markets that we knew about when I started as governor in 2006, and there's over 180 now. And that's been organic. I mean, it's not been because the governor said, by gosh, we need more farmers markets. It's been because people want to buy local produce. People want to buy organic produce. They're worried about toxins or chemicals that are in food that they might buy in the supermarket. So these farmers markets have turned out to be a great strategy that helps farms and also enables people to buy good quality local produce.
Yeah, the Charlottesville market broke $1 million sales last year.
Wow.
It's only open, 25 or 30 Saturdays for 4 hours from 7 to noon. And besides the 2.5% food tax for the state, there's an additional 6% that they collect for the market, for administering the market. So that's a significant revenue, a $60,000 revenue for the city to operate something. We've often thought maybe you should turn all of the rest areas into farmers markets.
Well, now there's a thought. If we're actually on the rest areas, that's a tough topic. If we could do more commercial activity at rest areas, we would, and that would enable them all to stay open. Right now, the federal government prohibits us from doing it, but we're up there lobbying them, hey, give us a little flexibility and we can keep all these open. And you're right, farmers markets, as people are passing through, the ability to buy Virginia apples or some other, Virginia peanuts, some other
the Virginia's Finest program.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, it's interesting that even as governor, you still have to kind of struggle as the small farms trying to cooperate with VDACs and inspections and that kind of stuff. And we've tried to do a lot of work with the food safety to kind of point out to people that really is a partnership. And it doesn't mean you need to fight against inspection. And, and there are a lot of pretty forward-looking people in the government trying to help.
The Todd Haymore, who is my new commissioner, I mean, I think he's been in 1.5 or 2 years now. He really has the right attitude about these things. I frankly think that the attitude before was a little bit too heavy on the regulation and didn't really look in a creative and flexible way at the tremendous asset that these small farms are. Todd came in and I very much directed him, hey, look, we want small farms to be successful, and not being too heavy on the, needlessly heavy on some of the regulation is the way to do that. He has a great understanding of that balance. You do have to balance, though, because if you ever end up with a food safety problem, what happens is it doesn't just affect the one farm where the problem came about. It can often mean that people won't buy from all farms in an area or something like that. So the stakes are pretty high in trying to avoid problems, but you just have to find that right balance that enables the local farmers, to be successful.
Now, last Thursday, we were down at Petersburg, Virginia State University. Dr. Reza Raffi puts on his annual Commercial Vegetable Growers Field Day. And they had a couple of really nice presentations about food safety and post-harvest handling. And basically presented how important it was for the quality of your product as well as food safety. But that you weren't going to deliver a sterile product because people don't want a sterile product because then they don't have any resistance to anything and their mutations and that kind of stuff. So it's really, it's kind of interesting how the partnership between the government and the growers can help the growers, and it's not just sort of a policing sort of situation.
Yeah, we very much view the purpose of VDACs and the land grant universities, Virginia State and Virginia Tech, is to assist. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to switch gears just a second to say, as we're talking about opportunities for small farms and food safety, I also want to say that if we get this energy bill right that's in Congress right now, I think the biofuels market is going to be a superb market for farmers, again, on the 180-acre average acreage, to do something that will be a money-making crop that will enable them to participate in helping America be more energy independent and become economically successful at the same time. There's a lot of debates around, let's try not to just use corn for ethanol, because then you drive up corn prices and it creates other challenges. But Virginia is very suited for a number of agricultural products, both forest products and products you could grow on a farm, that could be converted into biodiesel, canola oil, algae. There's a whole series of products that could be grown by our farmers and foresters that could be converted into biodiesel. that could be mixed with regular gasoline so that we rely less on foreign oil, that we use sources of energy that are environmentally better. And we create opportunities for farmers like the Sheltons to, on small acreages, find sustainable ways that they can keep their land in working farms. I think kind of biofuel development going forward is going to offer enormous opportunities for Virginia farmers, and that can just be part of the palette, part of the options that are available to farmers to make sure that their land stays in farming.
Now, you've done a lot of work also with nutrient management.
Yes, absolutely.
Keeping nitrates out of the bay and out of our tributaries. And so it seems, and so a lot of the wastewater treatment plants are spraying their treated water on agricultural land, and it can't be used for food because of some of these regulation issues. But it seems like the biofuel could be a good match.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
Let's take our sewage and feed the soybeans that we're going to turn into biodiesel.
Sure. Or algae. I mean, algae is a spectacular example. I mean, algae consumes carbon in massive quantities, so that's great. And then algae is a very oily kind of a plant, as you know, so you can convert it, like converting corn to oil. It's, it doesn't convert as easily as something that's oily to start with, like algae. Corn can be pretty dry. So there's all kinds of ways we can work together, and nutrient management is important. We've put about $60 million, $57 million toward what we call best management practices, where at VDAX we enter into partnerships with farmers where if they'll build a buffer along the stream or do things to keep livestock out of streams, we'll pay for part of the cost, they'll pay for part of the cost. If we do that, then we improve water quality in the streams, rivers, and ultimately in the Chesapeake Bay. We've done a pretty good job on the sewage treatment plants. We got to do a better job on agriculture. We got to do a better job on stormwater runoff from urban areas. And so we're working to do that. But again, the idea is the more we can do in partnership, rather than just the heavy hand of the regulator, that's what we need to do. You got to have regulations so that people don't go too far. But with working with the ag community, what we find is, they want to partner with us. Farmers tend to be pretty good environmentalists to start with. They don't need a lot of encouragement. If they find that the state wants to partner with them, they usually respond really well.
So agriculture has been sort of the basis of Virginia since colonial times.
It has been. And in fact, it's our number. We're a big export state, and obviously, the financial success of Jamestown was finally secured with the export of tobacco. And it's only been in the last 5 or 10 years that tobacco ceased to be the primary export from Virginia. So you think about nearly 400 years of history where the primary export was an agricultural product. Now, other coal and other products eclipse tobacco, but just in my time as governor, the amount of agricultural exports to foreign countries in Virginia have grown from $1.7 billion a year to $2.2 billion a year. Even in a tough economy where some of the exports are down, the same things that make Virginians really like, Virginia grown and Virginia produce are attracting buyers from other countries. We have a high quality product, and we've got a great port, the Port of Hampton Roads, that enables us to ship Virginia produce and meat products all over the world.
So what do you see in your future that you want to do to continue this? And it seems to be a very personal mission that you have to protect the Commonwealth, not just the people, but the land and the preservation of the environment.
Yeah, and if I had to say, like, what are the two things I care most about, it's education and the power of education to help all to succeed, but especially maybe those who kind of start behind, and then preservation of land. Those are the two things that in some ways I'm most passionate about. I'm a big outdoorsman, big camper and canoeer and backpacker. I'll go backpacking on the Appalachian Trail every year. And when I say I go hiking on the Appalachian Trail, I am really hiking on the Appalachian Trail. My kids and I do it, so we love the Virginia outdoors. And I think what you come to realize is preserving the outdoors, preserving our natural beauty has some enemies, but the biggest enemy is in some ways apathy or the illusion of abundance. Like, we have so many beautiful spaces, we don't need to worry about it, we'll always have them. Well, that's not the case. You can take a look at things like oyster harvest or crab harvest in the bay, and you can see it can turn around on you quick. And so I think that's an example of all of your natural resource issues. If you are not intentional about fighting to preserve and protect, then you can wake up one day and find out that the places that you've loved and enjoyed will not be there for your kids and your grandkids.
Well, thank you so much, Governor.
You bet. Yeah, Mike,
anything else that we missed?
This is good. I'm glad we had a chance to visit. Agriculture and forestry is the biggest industry in Virginia. It's about Bob Bloxham. Now, you'll correct me. Bob has done a super job. He's the only person who's ever held the title, Secretary of Agriculture and Forestry in Virginia. Is it north of $80 billion annually, Bob? $79 billion. Okay, $79 billion annual economic impact in the Commonwealth, ag and forestry. Of that, over 50 is ag and the remainder is forestry. We consider them together, obviously, because they're so closely linked. As you talk about the Virginia economy, a lot of people wouldn't think that ag and forestry is still number one, but it's the number one and there's no close second. Trivia question. Some of you might know, but if you don't, you can use this to astonish people. How many farms do you think there are in Virginia? Just somebody shout out a number. 900, 3,000, 5,000, 47,000 is the right number. There's 47,000 farms. I had one of my Deputy Secretary of Agriculture shouted out the number, but I didn't even listen to him because he wrote my talking points. So, how big is the average farm in the Commonwealth? What's the size of the average farm? 20 acres, 2 acres. It's somebody said 200. It's 180 acres. The average size is 180 acres. Now, what we know is that it is increasingly more and more difficult for farmers to make a living on an average-sized farm, 180-acre farm. And so what we've seen over time is a dramatic reduction in the amount of farmland. A lot of farmland gets developed every year. We've also seen an increasing age in the average farmer in Virginia because it's just tougher to make a go of it. But one of the ways that you can make a go of farms is by coming up with kind of niche ideas or unusual products. And this orchard with, I hope I pronounce it right, artisanal, historic apple varieties, and now this CiderWorks is one great way to figure out how to make a farm of modest size be successful. And we're finding these strategies all over the United States, and VDACs, Todd Haymore, the VDACs commissioner, cannot be here, but Todd and his team are working very hard. I gave them a goal when I got elected. My only goal with agriculture was save the family farm. I didn't talk about production. I didn't talk about acreage. I just said figure out ways to help family farms, and especially small family farms, be successful. And in that, despite the fact that there are certainly challenges, they've really, really worked hard. And projects like this, the reason I'm here is I want to spotlight a project like this, which I think has great promise. And we're seeing it all across the Commonwealth, whether it's wineries or whether it's a cidery or whether it's other special products that are now being grown because people want to have locally grown produce or organic produce. We're seeing this really help farmers succeed. When we do that, we help farmers, we help the environment, we preserve natural beauty, we provide opportunities for tourism. It's just like the best win-win there is when an operation like this that's a family farm can find a niche where they can really be successful. So that's why I'm here, and I want to say to Mr. and Ms. Shelton especially, what an honor it is to come and meet your children and be part of this today. My Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services not only is helpful in trying to help folks with ideas, we have an Office of Farmland Preservation that works with us on our goal to try to put 400,000 acres of open space forests and farms under protection. We're well on the way there, nearly at 350,000 acres now, but we're all gathered here to salute your vision and to applaud you. And I will say this as I conclude. So these guys, Albemarle CideWorks, gave me 3 bottles of cider last week. And they wanted me to, have a chance to test it before I came up. If you have not had cider of this kind, I think you're in for an amazing treat. It is really spectacular. So I hope I can say I'm like your first customer. And if you want to put me on a billboard or something, I mean, I'm glad to advertise for you. It is great, and you're in for a real treat. Thanks for coming out today, and congratulations. I'm sorry, this is my fault. Oh yeah.
Everything we do is help the governor make his goal help him realize the goal. All the easements that we work on certainly are counted towards his goal of 400,000. And over the last 4 years, we've helped protect about 80,000 acres of land. So I would say the Piedmont region has been a large part of the success of that initiative. We have a thing we auction off at our annual fundraiser, which is a helicopter flight to look at some of the projects, the key projects that we've done during the course of the year. And you stop at Mont Alto in Charlottesville and Montpelier and Gilbert's Corner and Brandy Station Battlefield. You're actually seeing a lot of significant places in Virginia's historic landscape, but are also getting real insight about current open space land use and what the challenges and opportunities are. Having worked hard over the last 4 years to protect, something on the order of 80, 90,000 acres, we feel like we've been good partners. That land has included a bunch of state priorities, whether it's Civil War battlefields or prime agricultural land or watershed protection, rare ecosystems. All of those are within that larger body of land, and I think that the neat thing is you can be partners without even trying. That means you've got good programs if people are working together without knowing that's what they're doing.
Well, now we're here with Robbins Buck. Now, the governor and Todd Haymore, everybody said, you got to talk to Robbins Buck. So here I am. How come you know everything about agriculture here in Virginia? And even the governor is sending me to you for the answers.
I've been working for Agribusiness Development Services since 1995 when Governor Allen appointed Farmer Commissioner Carlton Corder. And you remember that Governor Allen's announced that the state of Virginia is open for business. Well, yeah. Commissioner Corder said, and Virginia is open for agribusiness as well. I would say 60 to 65 to 70% of our work is helping existing agribusinesses expand. But like today, Albemarle CideWorks is a new business. This is a startup. So today was jumping off point for the Sheltons, and we were just tickled to death to have Governor Kaine here and Secretary Bloxham here and Secretary Gottschalk here. This means a whole lot because you know what happened today? There was a lot of free press that another business might not have gotten had the governor not been there. So it's great when the governor can show up, and he can't show up at everyone, not even the big ones. Yeah. So it did mean a lot today that he was there. When I was growing up on a farm, my granddaddy was a farmer. Today, farmers are businessmen. That's why agribusiness. So agribusiness is from production, whether it's a hobby farm, sustainable farm, small family farm, right up to the big corporate farmers and everything in between. Agribusiness is anything that touches food and fiber. That's the way our little unit defines it. And we look at agribusiness as investment in agriculture and jobs.
Now, that $50 billion of food agriculture, or food, grain, I guess there's fiber in there because it's just forestry is the $29 billion separate. How much of that is big commodities that really just kind of grow in the state and leave, and how much of it is local food, like this operation where these people are working so hard for a particular variety of apples for a particular artisanal product?
If I can use a percent, and I'm not sure I can hold myself to it or you can hold me to it, but I would say that 90 to 95% of Virginia agriculture are your moderate to big farms, and I'll use the word traditional there. And then the other 5 to 10% is your specialty agriculture and your smaller farms and your value added and your further processing. But remember, value added and further processing can go across the gamut, whether it's vanilla soybeans or whatever. But
we have a local tofu place that's buying soybeans from local producers.
That's right. So farming is important, as you've heard the governor say today. You've heard Commissioner Todd Haymore say, if we can keep farms productive and profitable, they'll stay in farms and not develop in housing. Well, and I'm sure you said you interviewed the governor earlier today. I'm sure you know that one of his 4 main focuses was to preserve 400,000 acres while his office. So he's going to probably meet that goal and exceed it. So, Virginia is agribusiness is a quality of life. Rural Virginia is a quality of life. And we've got that hobby farmers and that organic farmer and that family farm like the Sheltons, but we've also got the big ones like the tomato. You know that Virginia is number 3 in tomato production, and we have 5 tomato companies that start in Florida and go up the coast. So think about what poultry means to Virginia, what tomatoes means to Virginia, what all the commodities. We have 2 counties that are huge in wheat and soybean production, and both of them are on the eastern shore of Virginia, Northampton and Accomack County. So we're not big as Texas and California and Florida, but Virginia is recognized and has role, and we got a great location. Look where we are in the eastern seaboard.
And everything grows.
Everything grows.
You can't stop it growing.
That's right.
But if you're a small specialty farm, well, like the CiderWorks here, What sort of assistance is there for getting your product to market?
Well, other than just getting product to market, there's two grant sources in USDA. One of them is federal state marketing improvement grants. There are some federal USDA grant sources for all types of agriculture. And you know, it's hard. I tell my clients, let's not start your business on grants, but once you're in business, then let's look for some grants to do something different. But buy local, buy fresh, know where your product comes from is where the small farmers are going to flourish. Not that they shouldn't worry about trying to get bigger and going to the national markets, but the small farmers and the specialty crop farmers that I know in Virginia, they're going to flourish by going to farmers markets such as Williamsburg and DuPont Circle and what have you, and developing their relationship with their neighbors in that local regional market, because today people want to know where, buy fresh, buy local,
Where it's coming from.
and who grew it. You're watching Meet the Farmer TV, and please buy local, buy fresh, and know where your food comes from.
Today we're at the grand opening of CiderWorks, and we're here with Charlotte and Chuck. Tell us what's going on here.
Albemarle CideWorks, we're one of 2 commercial producing cideries in Virginia now. There's probably 70 nationwide. It's a re-emerging art or craft, and we're just getting started. It's our first day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken a lot of time getting up here. Obviously, we had to have apples, and we've had an orchard, but this is a different focus for us, making cider. In this country, they think of hard and sweet cider. We do sweet cider here. In Europe, it's only hard cider. Cider is hard.
Right.
So this is cider, is the European style would be, but it was also the colonial beverage of choice. And
As the governor said, it's like champagne.
it can be. Get the right apples in there. That's the key to making a good cider. And one of the problems that almost happened, has happened in a lot of areas, is the right apples have disappeared. So it's going to take a while to get them back. We're doing our part to try to reestablish them here, and we've researched and found some orchards that are growing some of them. So we're able to put together enough to do ours. And of course, Diane's growing her own, and there goes Diane now. But
Hi.
so she's growing a lot of her own, and she has to buy in some fruit too from orchards out of the southwest region, and because she's in Carroll County, and we don't want to truck them too far, but so it takes a good apple to start off with.
So you had to go to actually do some work to bring in some Jeffersonian era apples
Absolutely.
here.
The Jeffersonian apples have been gone for a long time. They're scattered all over, and there's no cultivation of them per se. We've done some kind of joint things with Monticello, where Peter Hatch is reestablishing some of the Jefferson heritage there, but it's hard to do because some of the varieties don't exist anymore.
So there you have it, preserving heirloom apples and also preserving the family farm here at Albemarle CideWorks. Thank you for watching another Meet the Farmer TV.
Wow.
The Charlottesville Government Channel.
That is great. Meet the Farmer TV. I like that.
What we're celebrating today is what an awful lot of us have worked very hard for in Albemarle County and throughout the Commonwealth, and that is to stimulate sustainable agricultural activities in our rural areas. There is nothing more able to protect our valuable natural resources, our rural areas, than having family-run, agriculturally oriented commerce, and that's what the Albemarle CideWorks is.
Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by Planet Earth Diversified, Melli Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design. Culpeper's Channel 21, helping to preserve the agricultural history of Virginia, and Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.